Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're back to the good stuff. Back to May of 1991 with Wolverine number 39 by Larry Hama and Mark Silvestri. So, just before we get into it, if you enjoyed the channel, if you feel like you might want to help out a little bit, what you can do is in the description, there's a link to my Patreon. And if you subscribe there, that'll give you access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. I have a tendency to make that sound like a soundbite when I say it now, because I do that with stuff that I memorize. Now I got to try and remember how to speak like a human when I say that stuff. Because, it's like, yeah, no, when the guy goes into his sales pitch, I'm really convinced to go and sign up for his shit, absolutely. So, Wolverine number 39. Some of the best Wolverine stuff I've read personally. I know there's a lot of stuff that would be considered classic. There's all the stuff by John Buscema. There's the Frank Miller miniseries. I mean, there's probably been like 100 miniseries since this, or specials, or whatever. But this one, I don't know. I like this because it's not... One of the things I like about this particular story is it's not super high stakes. It's Wolverine just kind of getting around and doing Wolverine things. And in this one, he's going to kill a little girl. No, wait. We should start off with the cover here. That's kind of a killer cover. Get Wolverine in what appears to be full berserker rage, making his way through red plankton. It's supposed to be fire. I feel like the colorist maybe didn't remember that. I don't know. It's still a pretty badass image, though. It is undercut somewhat by the text, though. So, in an inferno of death, Storm and Wolverine face the awesome android assassin, LCD. I'm torn between whether... you want to explain away that particular twist on the cover for anybody who didn't know, or if you want people picking it up going, why in the fuck is Wolverine going to murder this little girl? But yeah, if you missed the last video, what happened in the last one was LCD is a killer android assassin. And she's been programmed to take out Wolverine. She was supposed to be programmed with a 5-year-old's mentality, but the guy who programmed her fucked up. And she was accidentally programmed at maximum levels, so like genius levels. And her priority is to grab onto Wolverine and detonate, because she is just packed with plastic explosives. So to that end, she and Albert, her android sidekick, who is a doppelganger of Wolverine himself, have been trying to draw him out, get him first to take on Albert, which he did, and handled him fairly handily. And then LCD is the main event for Logan. So let's get into this. Man, I do like that cover. This is one of the better covers. All right, so this is Deconstruction. Like I said, Larry Hama does the script. Mark Silvestri does the pencils. Dan Green does the inks. And that is a killer combination. Mark Silvestri and Dan Green, of course, worked together on Uncanny X-Men. And over the course of their run, they pumped out a whole bunch of comics. More than, I think they were there for 36 months and pumped out 33 comics, but a lot of those were bi-monthlies. So having to pump out, 2 comics in a month. And there were a few months where Mark and Dan did it. And those comics look pretty rushed, but they've got an intense amount of energy. And at this point in Mark Silvestri's career, it really feels like he's retained that, that taught him something. Because before that, he had an ability to put together great-looking pages, great-looking panels, all that kind of stuff. But I think that having to really churn out pages taught him a looseness of style that he was able to carry over. He kind of forgot all about it by the time he got to Cyberforce, because he didn't need it anymore. But at this point, this is we need a splash page. So let's do that thing quick. I know exactly what I need to do. You see, the shape of Wolverine here, I'm pretty sure there would have been very limited, under-modeling, just because Mark Silvestri doesn't really need it. And what's going on in this is LCD has set a building on fire, because she did upgrade Albert to the point where he's more intelligent, in the hopes of giving him a better chance of defeating Wolverine so that she wouldn't have to explode. Because now that she's gotten her intelligence upgrade, she does have sort of a self-awareness and, doesn't want to end her existence. But once Wolverine gutted Albert, she was left with no choice. She has to draw him in. So Wolverine's going to leap into action. I like the little sign here. You break it, you buy it. All the shattered pottery. It's good stuff. And all these Venice Beach residents here just kind of moseying around like, oh, hey, look, that building's on fire. So this is LCD's final gambit, where with the building on fire, she's going to hang out the window and yell for help. And, that's something that Wolverine can't abide. Storm is going to try to fly up and see what she can do. Maybe she can save her. But LCD, of course, doesn't want Storm to be the one who gets near her. So she ignites some flammable shit nearby and scorches her pretty good. That's an awesome shot. And again, the kind of thing looks like it might not have taken a whole lot of time, really. But I mean, it's a nice panel. Some pretty high intensity. Storm maybe wants to check her blood pressure, but, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to rip on the colors or anything in there. Every once in a while, I think what it is with the Doc Martin dyes, they're color-coded, or the way that they do them anyway. So he maybe just entered the wrong code accidentally there. So the fire is too intense for Storm to get near it, so Logan's just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, where he just runs into a burning building. Storm's going to do what she can to conjure up a thunderstorm to dampen the flames, but it's going to take a little while for that to do anything. And meanwhile, LCD keeps calling out to Logan about the fire getting closer. Meanwhile, looking all ominous and shit. Then, back on the boardwalk, Albert isn't quite dead. He's pretty fucked up. And I mean, Mark Silvestri doesn't skimp on the details here. Like, that looks like a moving corpse just about, and like dragging his own entrails around. Which are all, automaton construct kind of stuff, but it's still, that could be kind of gross. And of course, again, the Venice Beach residents all just kind of look on and go, huh. Because they figure it's a movie. Guy here says, see, I told you it wasn't a real guy. It's a special effect. The camera crew, I don't know why he's from New York. He just is. He's on vacation. Camera guy's probably hidden in the taco stand. Radio control, cheapo stuff. The expensivo stuff is all computer generated. I like how they're talking about that even in 1991. I mean, this is around the time when Terminator 2 comes out. There we go. Here's our money shots. And these are pretty much the only money shots we're going to get in this whole issue, too. Larry Hama not really doing Mark Silvestri any favors, writing him a compelling story to draw. So, yeah, Wolverine pushes his way through the fire. Doesn't stop hurting just because he can heal it up. And we get, just a little bit of dwelling on that. And this is the kind of thing, yesterday I put out the Brigade video, and I complained about how Extreme doesn't know how to make people look tough. And, the way you do that is you give him some adversity. Like, this isn't a lot for Wolverine. He's used to being in excruciating pain, and then pushing through. And the fact that he does that regularly, and, sometimes it's a bit too much, but he pushes through anyway, that's one of the things that makes him an interesting character. If he were to just, push his way through and go, pain don't hurt, then you go, oh, so he's not really in any kind of danger. And he's able to call out to LCD, because he's finally found her, and she's broadcasting to Albert that, he's arrived, he's here, and he came for me. And he burned the shit out of himself, and he's still coming. And now after all that, he gets to die coming to save me. And this is sort of a moral problem that, if she'd been programmed correctly, she wouldn't have had to worry about. But being able to understand the emotions of the situation now, she has a dilemma on her hands. Because she doesn't want to die. And this is the first time that anybody other than Albert who's programmed to look after her, this is the first time anybody has shown any kind of care towards her. And yeah, scoops her up. Fantastic fucking shot. That could have been the cover too. And good shot of an inconsolable 5-year-old. Like, good expression. Again, it's tough because in order to show expression, you have to add lines, and the more lines you add onto a female face, generally speaking, unless you really know what you're doing, the older it makes her look. But that doesn't make her look any older. Just the right lines in the right places. Meanwhile, in Australia, we're with Donald Pierce. Donald Pierce is the one who ordered that LCD be built. He's been helping Lady Deathstrike to rebuild, I assume after her last tussle with Wolverine, because she did face him in the 2 issues just before this little sequence. And Bonebreaker here has his own dilemma. He was the one who programmed LCD. He was the one who fucked up the logic programming, and accidentally gave her that genius level intellect. And he's wondering whether or not he should fess up so that they can, maybe take some kind of action. And he decides, he's gonna do, I gotta do it. I gotta go tell him. And while he trundles over, Lady Deathstrike and Donald Pierce are discussing LCD. And going over kind of what they went over in the last issue, really. Where Lady Deathstrike thinks it's kind of dumb to program a robot so that it has a 5-year-old mentality. And Lady Deathstrike says that would be almost as stupid as giving her too much intellect. And at that point, Donald Pierce is like, do you have something to tell me, Bonebreaker? No, I do not. I forgot whatever I was going to say. And this stuff going on in the background here, this is Lady Deathstrike just testing out her new arm, just kind of some background business stuff, with her murdering a defenseless little bunny. And back in Venice. Okay, so these guys here, Sally and Jocko, and Reno and Molokai, are recovering in the river here, because at the end of the last issue, Storm just kind of blew them all inland. And something's in the water with them. It turns out it's Albert. And they know Albert. The whole reason they were involved in the last issue was because Albert and LCD kept knocking over Jocko and Sally's, not quite casinos, more like just gambling rooms. So when he pops up out of the water looking like fucking Robo-Zombie, they're just like, hey, don't worry about all that cash you took. You can have it all, buddy. And Albert's pretty messed up, so somebody calling him buddy is enough to just be like, wait, are we friends? So I like to think that his memory is a little bit screwy at the moment. Just like, I do know you guys. It might be because we're pals. Jocko here just takes him aside. Yeah, no, you're looking kind of rough, pally. Why don't we take you wherever you need to go? And they're going to see if they can get him on their side to be like an enforcer or something, most likely. And back at the warehouse, we are jumping all over the place here. A lot of scene changes. Doesn't feel choppy or anything, though. Wolverine comes out of the warehouse, still cradling LCD, and we get this nice little time lapse of his healing factor kicking in. I remember that sticking in my head from when I saw it back in the day. And Storm tells her she doesn't have to cry anymore. She's safe. And that's when LCD admits, no, we're not safe. We're not all right. I'm not a little girl. I'm an android, and I'm trying not to blow everybody up right now. Again, great expression, kind of verging on cartoony there. And Wolverine's a little shocked, like, so why are you telling us that then? And she explains she's holding off on her countdown. She's been able to delay the detonation, but he needs to get away immediately. And, she doesn't want to blow him up. She realizes that she's just an object, really. And Wolverine's, he's a good guy who cares for her, at least in the moment. So she doesn't want to have to sacrifice him. She has to blow up anyway. But he should try to get away. And oddly, Storm is the one being like, Logan, drop that thing and get away from it. While Logan is the one who's being more compassionate. But that's how the Larry Hama Logan kind of was. Where he goes off of instinct. It works. And Logan says that, if she's willing to sacrifice herself so other people don't get hurt, then there's something more to LCD than just machine. And he's not going to let her die all by herself. He's going to try and talk her through this. And now she couldn't even convince him to leave. He's just, no, we're sticking around. We're getting through this one way or the other. I see a little bit of that leftover John Buscema influence in here, only like a very sketchy version. Cut to Maryland, apparently, where the super... Okay, this page is, I'm quite sure, out of order. So here, okay, you know what? I'll jump ahead to where I think it should be. Okay, so now we're back in the car with Sally and Jocko and Albert. Albert is communicating with LCD via radio. LCD tells him that he needs to plug in and go nationwide. He needs data. And he yells at them to stop the car so that he can go into a radio hut right next to the pizza shack. So he's just going to wander in here and start reading through all of the manuals. Like he's got this big pile of manuals at his feet while like his guts hang out from under Molokai's shirt. And Mark Silvestri's trying to get some cool drawings in here. Just, every once in a while. But there's not a lot he can do. This is some pretty, there's not exactly a lot of action for him to work with. So what he decides to do then is plug into the computer itself. And he plugs into the store system. And Reno's in here to back him up. Just, make sure he gets everything he needs. So when the teller's like, hey, get your thumb out of there, he's like, he can't what? He can't what? No, he can't. He can do anything he wants. And yeah, all the computers start firing. And meanwhile, Logan's still trying to talk down LCD. He's like, there's got to be a way we can cancel this thing. And she says she's trying, but it's a very clever program full of traps and safeguards. And she can delay the detonation by concentrating really hard, but she can't unwrite it or disable it because the code is too complex. And while she's explaining this, her concentration slips and the delay stops and the countdown sequence is initiated. Meanwhile, at the radio hut, Albert has accessed the NSA's mainframe, and he is screaming through their files. And that's, I think, where we want to cut back. So, 5 levels underground at Maryland, where the NSA is losing their goddamn minds because all of the computers are out of control. Some super hacker has penetrated our security system and is accessing our entire array. And of course, they need to go, where is it all going? And they're able to trace it pretty much right away to an ordinary phone modem at a Radio Hut store in Venice, California. So they yell to get the FBI on it, and this is where the countdown has started. So yeah, that's why I figure this is where this should be. So now that the countdown's going, LCD doesn't have any recourse. She yells at Wolverine to leave because she can't stop it now, and Albert doesn't have time. And Wolverine says, just give it a shot. Do what you can. Meanwhile, back at the Radio Hut. It's too bad that this got out of order. This gets pretty intense, actually. Every printer in the store is spitting out reams of random sequence numbers. And the teller's losing his mind because he's going to burn out all the equipment. And Reno's had enough of the whining. And tells him, let him burn. What do I care? Yeah. And Sally comes back in and he's yelling that everything with a siren in the whole country is coming this way. Which is pretty close to true. But Albert's not moving until he gets that fucking code. Again, trying real hard to come up with cool drawings in this sequence. Which is intense, but not the usual kind of intense. Storm's trying to clear out all the rubberneckers here who are like, man, this situation's looking crazy. It looks like most of the people here are actually news people, including Cindy Cates of News 57, reporting live from Venice Beach, where a poignant human drama is being acted out. And back to Logan and LCD, we're down to our last 30 seconds. Logan tells her to give it everything she's got, and she just doesn't have it. She doesn't have the memory capacity to find the code sequence, and she's, scared, finally. It's the first time in her life. And Storm is out of patience. She's like, you have to chuck that thing in the ocean. I can't control this crowd. And Logan goes, nobody's getting chucked in the ocean. If it comes to that, I'll cover her and absorb the blast, and we'll see how good my healing factor is. And at that, one of the newscasters announces that he heard on the police band that every cop and FBI agent is converging on a Radio Hut store on the other side of Venice. They have SWAT vans, snipers, and helicopters. And that means ultra-sexy visuals. So they all stampede out the other way, including Cindy Cates, who's rerouting herself to the scene of an even more poignant human drama. I laughed out loud, actually, when I read that. That's a pretty good bit. So the boardwalk has been cleared at least. So if the explosion goes off, it's just going to be Logan and LCD, which is probably good because we're down to our last 12 seconds by the looks of it. And I love these little shots here where just, the crowd clears out and it's just the empty boardwalk. It's not a super impressive shot, I guess, but it's, I don't know, just the figures here, the quickness of the backgrounds, but again, not skimping on anything. And, just the papers flying around, all the smoke. I don't know. It gets the mood across perfectly. And back on the other side of Venice, all the cops and the FBI agents are getting into formation outside of the Radio Hut. We got Jocko and Sally hiding in the car they were going to get away with Albert, just kind of hoping they don't get noticed. And at that moment, Albert discovers the code. And he's like, all right, I got it. Let's go. We're finished. And we're just going to hang out here for a second. If that's all right. And he starts broadcasting the code to LCD with 5 seconds to spare. Walks out of the Radio Hut with his guts all hanging out. They realize right away he's an android. And they realize right away that he's broadcasting. So LCD starts receiving the code. It is just this long string of random numbers. At that moment, everybody fires on Albert, blowing out all his guts. Kind of a brutal shot for a 1991 Comics Code approved comic, but I like it. And of course, he's able to get the last 3 digits out right at the last second. Gets blown through the wall, detonation sequence terminated, all firing systems safe, and Wolverine is maybe a little too happy. I don't think I've seen him smile that much before. It's a little off, but I mean, Marc Silvestri drew Wolverine as long as anybody. He's allowed to say whether or not he can smile that much. And everything's going to be fine now, but LCD isn't convinced because all of a sudden she can't get a hold of Albert anymore. And yeah, again, kind of a brutal shot to end on. You know, like, it's not blood, it's, I guess, like oil and, like, just mechanical parts, but, like, in a pencil and ink drawing, that looks an awful lot like blood and guts. So, in the next issue, we reveal Albert's final fate as Wolvie returns to the X-Mansion, where Forge struggles to find out what makes LCD tick. See you in 30. And that's it for Wolverine number 39. I like that comic quite a bit. And it's a little funny, because, you know, going back to my video from yesterday about Brigade number 5, I had a complaint I have often about these comics. Nothing fucking happened in that book. And to be real, not a whole lot happened in this one either. You know, the situation got stopped, but really an awful lot of it is Wolverine talking down this android from blowing herself up and trying to keep her calm while she tries not to blow up. And really, it's Albert doing all the work. Yeah, not a ton happens, but it sure as shit doesn't feel like it. We're jumping all over the place. We got multiple locations, multiple characters we're focusing on. And all the characters are kind of necessary to advance the plot. There wasn't anything in there that was really a cutaway, except maybe that one page with Donald Pierce and Lady Deathstrike. But we did still kind of need that, you know, again, if you missed the last issue, to kind of recap that LCD is at a genius level, that kind of thing. So an explanation for why she's acting the way she is. So like everything in here was necessary for the plot, which is actually like very impressive. For it's, you know, it's not quite a self-contained story because a lot of it was set up in the previous issue. But, you know, it's like a self-contained two issues where everything had to work together to get to this point. And yeah, poor Marc Silvestri, you know, again, an awesome issue, I think. But he was stuck just drawing page after page of Wolverine and LCD, just kind of sitting there on the boardwalk and talking to each other. Talking excitedly sometimes, but that was about it. At least he got those 2 awesome pages. Let's go back to those 2 awesome pages. Shit, yeah. Yeah, he really kind of milked it. Like, he didn't even get full splashes. But he's going to make sure on this one, you know, get a full up and down. And this one here is only like a third of the page, but like Wolverine's super ripped, on fire, snarling. Like, this is like, yeah, he was able to sell that page, I'm quite sure. Anyway, that doesn't completely wrap up everything because we still have to discover more about LCD. Albert, it seems, has been killed, and that'll have to be gone into further. And we get a couple of guest stars in the next issue with Forge and Jubilee. So that'll be some fun stuff to catch up on. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when the next one's coming out. Go over and subscribe on my Patreon. That'll give you access to everything I do. From the Blood Force stuff, so the pages and the finished comics, to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me there for commissions. See, I'm trying. That almost sounded like a real person and not like I was reading it from a script. I think I slipped once or twice there. But anyway, yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.